Hello, my name's Tom Seawick. I operate Sasquatch Island, which is a Facebook group, a website, and a YouTube channel. I'm a Sasquatch investigator, I guess you could say. I lived off northeastern Vancouver Island, which is my tribal territories of the Kwakwaka'wakw First Nation. And when I lived out in the bush, I knew of the stories about this character here, the large, hair-covered female creature with big breasts and puckered up lips and sleepy eyes that it sometimes would have a basket on its back or a sack, and it would chase after misbehaving children and reach big hairy arm in at night where they were sleeping and rub spruce sap into their eyes so they couldn't see, and then she'd throw them into the basket or shove them into that sack, and she would take the misbehaving children deep into the forest, up the mountain to her invisible home, and that's where Chonakwa, the Sasquatch, would eat those bad children. So when I went out there knowing this about Chonakwa, there was times I would smell things, hear things, and eventually I would have some sightings of Sasquatch. And I gained a lot of knowledge while I was living in the bush, being a hunting guide, an eco-tourist operator, bringing people to go see killer whales and grizzly bears in our traditional territories. And the decades that I spent as a hunting guide, a lot of times I was alone, deep in the inlets, in places where most people would never go other than the odd logger, but they would go and log and leave. But here I was alone out there, and I learned things about Sasquatch. And as a Sasquatch investigator now, I go on stages at the Sasquatch conferences. I've done well over 100 podcasts. I've even starred in a television show, which I'll share with you on board ship. But when we go on this Alaska Bigfoot cruise, I'll be there as your Indian guide, your Sasquatch investigating guide as well. And I'm going to be pointing to places where I had my encounters because I lived and I worked to the entire British Columbia coast. And I'm going to be able to point to places where there's stories I've heard that weren't written in the books yet. And you're going to hear all this. I'm going to share with you legends and stories from the Kwakwaka'wakw people about mountains and glaciers and islands and reefs. And I'm also going to share with you my lifetime of being a commercial fisherman. I'm going to point out things and tell you stories that will amaze you, enthrall you, entertain you. But the focus will be Chonakwa, Sasquatch. And I guarantee you we're going to have fun with that because at nighttime I'm going to be bringing my FLIRs. We're going to be up on those upper decks, and when we go through those narrow little channels we'll be using the FLIRs. And trust me, it works, because if you go to YouTube channel Sasquatch Island, you'll see videos that I've done talking about Sasquatch and places on the British Columbia coast that most people rarely see other than on a cruise ship or a commercial fish boat like me. And through my lifetime of being a commercial fisherman at anchor in bays or exploring on shore and in the bushes, I've seen things and heard things that's all tied to Chonakwa, Sasquatch. So I'll be sharing that with you. So I look forward to you coming on board this ship. We're going to bring our masks, which are carved Kwakwaka'wakw mask for our regalia of Chonakwa, the Sasquatch. We're also going to be bringing the Puss mask, which is the little people from the spiritual realm. And on stage, we're going to perform our stage show that everyone's been raving about, where I talk and share with you all my life's experiences and knowledge about Sasquatch. And in turn, my wife Peggy's going to come out with the traditional regalia. So this is a historic cruise, a cruise of a lifetime, the Alaska Bigfoot cruise. And I look forward to seeing you on board, and we're going to have fun. I can guarantee you that. So don't forget Sasquatch Island, my Facebook group. Please ask to join it if you're coming along, especially so you can go through the hundreds of posts I have and read it. It's basically my book. It just hasn't been published yet as a book. But when you go through Sasquatch Island, you will be educated about Sasquatch better than any other Facebook group or website that's out there. So in my language, I just like to say, halakulisla. Go in peace, and I'll see you on that cruise ship, the Alaska Bigfoot cruise.